You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Hurricane Sally is just off the coast of Alabama and is expected to make landfall soon. Winds up to 105 miles per hour and a pressure of 965 millibars. I was thinking that maybe it would take a little bit of a rise there on the latest National Hurricane Center advisory that's just come out, but they've kept it at 105 miles per hour and a pressure of 965. Let me just first relay the very latest information. The headline is that Sally's northern eye wall, with hurricane conditions moving across the Gulf Coast from Pensacola Beach westward to Dauphin Island, Alabama. Catastrophic and life-threatening flooding likely along portions of the northern Gulf Coast. The hurricane warning has been replaced with a tropical storm warning from the Mississippi-Alabama border westward to the mouth of the Pearl River. The tropical storm warning west of the mouth of the Pearl River has been discontinued. The storm surge warning has been discontinued from the Mississippi-Alabama border to Fort Morgan, including portions of Mobile Bay, leaving the areas that are still under warnings: storm surge warning for Fort Morgan, Alabama to the Walton Bay County line, Florida, hurricane warning for Mississippi-Alabama border to the Okaloosa-Walton County line, Florida, and a tropical storm warning for east of the Okaloosa-Walton County line to Indian Pass, Florida, and the Mississippi-Alabama border to the mouth of the Pearl River. Quite a bit to take in there. Let's introduce just one other in my complement tonight, this morning as it is now. David, good morning to you.
And it's good to be here, watching Sally just slowly approaching.
Would be nicer under better circumstances, but yes.
Yes, and I've been monitoring some live coverage by a couple of storm chasers, one in, I think it's Gulfport, and but the intensity of Sally and the wind reports something else too, Nathan. And
well, from what I've been looking at radar velocities, it would suggest to me that it would be a borderline Category 2, Category 3, 110 miles an hour at least. Zooming in on the eye, though, you can see there the radar picture. Looks like Gulf Shores is now in the eye. And it would appear to me, and this is really why we've gone live at this particular hour, it looks like landfall could be in an hour or so. Looking at the movement of this storm, it's making a push for it right now, and the landfall area would be Gulf Shores.
yes, and storm surge and quite a bit of flooding, electricity outages, many roads cut, and that rainfall factor, what was it, earlier 30 inches in some areas.
30, maybe even more, I'm not sure now. Let's see what they're currently saying for the rainfall. So they are expecting through this afternoon, Sally will produce additional rainfall totals, that's additional, of 8 to 12 inches, with localized higher amounts possible along and just inland of the central Gulf Coast from west of Tallahassee, Florida to Mobile Bay, Alabama. Storm totals of 10 to 20 inches and isolated amounts of 35 inches are expected. Historic and catastrophic flooding, they're saying, is unfolding. In addition, this rainfall will lead to widespread moderate to major river flooding. Let me just read out the discussion for the storm as well, which the National Hurricane Center have just come out with too. This is where they talk about the synopsis really of the storm. There's been little change in Sally's convective structure during the past few hours, as seen in radar and satellite data. The initial intensity of 90 knots, which is 105 miles per hour, is based on previous reconnaissance SFMR surface wind data of 88 knots in the northeastern quadrant, along with average Doppler radar values of 114 knots between 4,500 and 5,000 feet, which supports an equivalent surface wind speed of about 90 knots. The recon aircraft has recently measured peak 700 millibar flight level winds of 110 knots, but those winds may not be making it down to the surface based on earlier buoy wind reports underneath the eye wall. Although the northern eye wall has moved onshore between Mobile Bay and Pensacola Bay, some slight strengthening is still possible until the center of Sally's eye makes landfall later this morning. Personally, I'm not so sure, because it looks like that's going to happen very soon now, because it's pretty much on land. Radar and aircraft center fixes indicate that Sally's motion is north-northeastward, or 20 degrees, bearing at 3 knots. No significant changes were required to the previous track forecast. They're expecting it to show Sally moving slowly north-northeastward this morning, and then turn northeastward with a gradual increase in forward speed by tonight. That motion should then continue for the next day or so. As Sally approaches the mid-latitude westerlies at higher latitudes, the tropical cyclone should turn towards the east-northeast, with some slight increase in forward speed until it becomes a dissipating remnant low in near the southeastern United States coast in 2 to 3 days. So the key messages then: historic and catastrophic flooding is unfolding along and just inland of the coast west of Tallahassee, Florida, to Mobile Bay, Alabama. Just as I go and update this screen here to show the latest forecast track. And in addition, widespread moderate to major river flooding is forecast, significant flash and urban flooding, as well as widespread minor to moderate river flooding is likely across inland portions of Alabama into central Georgia. Widespread flash and urban flooding is possible, as well as widespread minor to moderate river flooding across western South Carolina into western and central North Carolina. Scattered flash and urban flooding is possible, as well as scattered minor river flooding even in southeast Virginia. Life-threatening storm surge is occurring along portions of the coastline from Alabama to the western Florida panhandle, including Pensacola Bay and southern portions of Mobile Bay. Hurricane conditions are expected this morning and then continue into the afternoon within portions of the hurricane warning area along the Mississippi and Alabama coastlines and the western Florida panhandle. So that's all of the information on Sally, and there you can see the forecast code and its significantly sized wind field, and you see the tropical storm warnings extending either side of the hurricane warning there. And to also point out that we now have 3 Category 2s active in the Atlantic. Paulette is holding on to Category 2 status in the far North Atlantic now, and Teddy is the latest Category 2. You may be wondering what happened with that. It's intensified rather rapidly overnight. Now 100 miles per hour. When I retired last night, I think it was 70 miles an hour, so it's gone up quite a bit since then. And unfortunately, and they mentioned it in their discussion, the track cone, the forecast, is taking it to Bermuda again.
Yes, I was thinking about that when we were live earlier, or a few hours ago, that it looks like Bermuda, it's in the path. I'm hoping it might curve to the northeast, or the outside chance tracking west. But and then we still got that 20% one over there in the Gulf of Mexico. And Nathan, we could have Alpha by Monday. And I've got up the south live streaming camera at Dolphin Island.
Oh, really? Let's see if we take a look at
and
that.
that's Dolphin Island, Alabama.
Well, there's the view. That's pretty much sums it up right now.
Yes.
Early hours of the morning, local time, of course, just after 4 a.m.
Yep.
And unfortunately, this looks like another storm that's going to make landfall in the dead of night.
And would you say that half of the eye is now on land?
Almost. And when that happens, that would be a landfall, and we'll show our breaking news slide and all of that jazz, but it's not there yet. It will be there soon. Sila supports our work quite clearly. Thank you very much for the support, and it's certainly nice to see that sort of thing, and it will be reflected in our future coverage. It's going to get better and better, I can tell you that much for certain, starting very soon. We're having an upgrade in the next day or two. But there we are. That's the view in Alabama right now. That's probably what you'll see if you're out there tonight. Not advised, not recommended. This is a Category 2 with winds of 105 miles per hour, pressure of 965 millibars, and you can see on the latest frames we decided to take this opportunity to go live at this hour because it would appear that the eye is starting to come ashore and that landfall could be within this hour. But if you do have any comments or questions for us whilst we're watching this event unfolding, you can send your messages in live on the chat. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We'll take your questions as best we can. Let's see if we can just get onto the velocity on the radar now as well. And one thing to note here is that there are some tornado warnings out there as well. There's some tornado warnings out towards the east actually. Let's see if we can get a little view on that. Just a moment. Let's see what's going on here. So, northeast of Port St. Joe, tornado warning radar indicated there. You can see maybe one little signature there that's moving north. And there was another tornado warning earlier just to its northwest, and then you've got that other one there at Fort Walton Beach. That's actually under a tornado warning, was briefly. It's now shifted slightly east. And you can see again one or two possible tornadic signatures that are just moving inland, dissipating. Looks like well, no, not immediately after it moves inland. You can see there just on that latest frame, if you're wondering what all this is, just this little area here, that could be a potential tornadic signature, and then this area as well, that might be something that we're watching as it moves through literally in that direction. That's all for the tornado warnings at least, but let's go back to the Mobile velocities, and you'll be able to see these lighter colors as the storm moves inland, and that denotes some significant wind speeds. Let's just get a little probe in on that and see what the radar is picking up. This isn't surface winds. This is up in the air about 4,000 feet. You're seeing 115 miles an hour, 113, something along those lines. And on offshore there, off Dauphin Island, you're looking at 108, 110. Again, that's not at the surface, so that would correspond to those 115s, probably corresponding to 100 miles per hour sustained on the ground as another frame comes in. But they were getting 125s earlier, which is the justification for the National Hurricane Center's readout of 105 miles per hour at the surface. But in layman's terms, the storm strengthened a little bit earlier on. I'm not sure whether it still is now, honestly. The National Hurricane Center haven't upgraded it at all. But it is a Category 2. It looks like it's going to be a Category 2 landfall. And again, you're looking at the eye there on the reflectivity. And if we were to draw, again, just a little indicator. So obviously the eye pattern is quite clear. You can see it's all around here, quite a large eye. The center of it is probably here, which would take it very, very close to landfall now, and it looks like Gulf Shores is in for a direct hit from the center of the eye.
Yes. And the wave height, well, probably in excess of 15 feet, but the flooding.
Steve says, what's been holding back the southern portion of the eye wall from forming? And thanks very much for that show of support as well. Well, it's not so much that it is there. The radar obviously is from behind the northern eye wall. I wonder if near New Orleans we can get that radar. It might show you the southern eye wall a little bit better. Maybe not. Showing you the eastern part, curiously, a little bit better. So I'm wondering whether there might be a weakness there, the southwest. Let's just try that other one further east and see if we can get another perspective. Yeah, looks like it's denoting a big weakness in the southwest then. But from southeast right round to northwest is still very significant. There is still stuff there on the southwestern side, but hopefully areas around that point in the southwestern side will have a little bit of a reprieve after the eye moves through. Potential rainfall in Georgia is a question here. Any ideas on that, David?
I'm just about to look it up.
Well, I've got a little idea here. It depends which part of Georgia. Further north, obviously, we'll get more rainfall. You're looking at 6 to 10 inches, possibly even in Atlanta. But a wide area of 4 to 6 inches, which spreads all the way from central Alabama through Georgia, through northern South Carolina, through central North Carolina to southernmost Virginia and out to sea. A massive rain swathe as it moves through. We are expecting a further 15 to 20 inches of rain for the landfall zone, which, if you've just joined us, is increasingly likely to looking like it's going to be at Gulf Shores, especially since I pointed out moments ago that the center of the eye must only be a handful of miles off the coast at Gulf Shores.
I'm just looking for the various warnings for Georgia. I'm just wondering if their rainfall information and if there's a flash flood warning. Is there any way you can source that?
There probably are many flash flood warnings. There's a lot of areas under flash flood warnings. I'm not sure about Georgia, but I'll read out some of the ones near the landfall zone. And incidentally, it looks like there are no flash flood warnings in Georgia at the moment. But let me read out a few of these warnings. Flash flood warning for southern Butler County, Conecuh County, Covington County, southwestern Crenshaw County, Escambia County, south central Monroe County, north central Baldwin County, and northwestern Escambia County in Alabama and Florida until 10 a.m. That's a flash flood warning. Thunderstorms producing heavy rain in southwestern and south central Alabama. Between 3 and 6 inches of rain have fallen so far today. I assume that means since midnight. Flash flooding is already occurring. Some locations that will experience flash flooding include Andalusia, Atmore, Opp, Bruton, Evergreen, Frisco City, Stockton, McCullough, East Bruton, Uriah, Mackenzie, River Falls, Castleberry, Excel, Red Level, Dozier, Repton, Heath, Gant, and Pollard. This could be a very serious situation later today, where and when bands repeatedly become aligned and move over the same localized area.
Nathan, I'm looking at the National Weather Service, Peachtree City, Georgia, and there is a flash flood watch.
There'll be plenty of watches.
Yep. And
I should read out this flash flood emergency that's in effect in southeastern Santa Rosa and southwestern Okaloosa counties in the western Florida Panhandle. That's a flash flood emergency. Between 15 and 25 inches of rain have fallen and flash flooding is occurring. Flash flood emergency for southeastern Santa Rosa and southwestern Okaloosa counties in the western Florida Panhandle. A particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground immediately. Not the easiest thing to do in a hurricane. Another flash flood emergency I'm just catching up here. This was issued much earlier this morning. Southeastern Baldwin County, South Central Escambia County. That's until 7 a.m. That was issued at 1:03 this morning. Intense rainfall rates from Sally's excessive heavy rain bands continuing to move ashore. Some locations have received 20 inches of rain, and they say it could be easily doubled.
Yes. There are going to be areas that will see above 30 inches. And Nathan, on the CDPS scale, what are we running with, 6?
I believe Deborah notified me that it's a stage 6 at this point. That's pretty serious. I think all you have to do is look at it to realise that it's a pretty serious storm. Trying to get the infrared loop to play, but unfortunately it's only giving me one frame.
I was just ready for you to bring that one up.
It's only giving me one frame at the minute, but that's the latest frame at any rate, and you can see how it's looking there. Let's take a look at the wide shot of the Atlantic. So you can see Sally making landfall. Teddy there, look how good that looks now.
That is one that I'll bet. Oh, did I see an eye?
Yeah, there's an eye there. That's a Category 2 hurricane, and they're expecting it to reach Category 4.
Is that major?
Yes, that would classify as major, Category 3 and up.
Viewers, I am slightly learning, considering my location.
Been here for 5 years. How are you still slowly learning?
Nathan, I was waiting for you to fire back with that comment, but
back on the radar imagery, the southern side does look a little bit weaker, so I think 105 miles per hour might be a fair estimate to make for the landfall. Not that it has made landfall yet, but it would appear at this point that it is actually imminent, and then it will move inland as a Category 2. This is a bit of a relief because landfall could have been, it could have stayed out at sea until lunchtime local time or later even. What's also a bit of a relief, it's not much consolation, but it is a little bit, is that it doesn't have any more time beyond that either, because you look at this area here that I'm outlining, that's Mobile Bay. That's an extra little bit of water that the storm could have got a little bit more energy in, but as it is, the storm center is moving through here and it's reaching land, and there's not much water there in that particular location. So just that tiny little silver lining, which might mean that the storm weakens a bit quicker, or that the storm makes landfall sooner, which means that weakening commences more quickly.
And it's tracking, what is it, north-northeast?
North-northeast right now. Let's go back to the radar velocity and see what's going on elsewhere around the storm. So you saw those tornado warnings earlier. Looks like they've all expired except the Florida one. So that one that's in Florida there, north of Port St. Joe, that's still a tornado warning, radar indicated. I think that's the only one active, yep. And there's still a lot of marine warnings out there as well.
Yeah.
Let's just try. It's mainly on the eastern side, and as you would expect, but looking at it again here, and tornado watch also in effect. Water spouts possible in this area. You can see a few signatures that could be little water spouts. There's this here, there's that, there's potentially even this. I'm not sure what that might be. could also all develop into potential water spouts, and the general motion will be swinging it round that way probably, I would imagine. Let's see as it animates. Nope, further towards the northwest, so that is actually heading for Miramar Beach. Maybe just a little bit further towards the west, towards Fort Walton Beach. Not to say that they are water spouts, but the signature could be. We're not sure. And obviously, if there's a tornado warning for your location, that means that the National Weather Service are concerned to the point where they think you should take cover if you aren't already doing so in that area immediately. But not just yet for that area. So let's take a look at the latest radar velocities. So as we saw from the National Hurricane Center earlier, they were detecting about 125 to 130 mile an hour velocities. This isn't at the surface, it's up in the air, which is why they've gone with 105 miles per hour on the ground. And right now, inland, you're seeing numbers of about 110, 111. Southwestern side there, you're looking at 115 there briefly. Any higher than that? About 115. And that's again at altitude, so we are still looking at probably 105 miles per hour, maybe even down slightly to 100, but still that's a category 2, which is about to make landfall. And as we look through the radar imagery again, this loop constitutes about 1 hour and 40 minutes or so. So it would appear here that landfall, assuming that the storm... Let's see. Let's just get a starting picture of the eye. So that's where it was at the start. That was at 7:41 UTC. And here it is at 9:26 UTC. So that's in almost 2 hours. It's moved that far. So if you would extrapolate that out, center point on both of those, center point there, center point there. So you're probably looking at, that's a 2 hour difference. So half an hour to an hour for landfall, if that.
Nathan, what would the size of the eye be?
It must still be about 30 miles at least.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the imagery. It looks big.
Well, it's definitely big when you look at it in this perspective. Obviously, the pictures can tell you a lot. We are zoomed in quite a bit. You zoom right out, and there it is on a normal perspective that people might be more familiar with, considering that, you know, resolution gets better and better all the time. It makes people think that storms are bigger than they actually are. But there it is from the wide perspective. It's still pretty big. Probably an average size for a Gulf landfall.
What's causing the break in its eye to the south?
I'm not sure. We know that wind shear is starting to increase. It would have helped if we had the infrared running properly. Well, we've got that zoomed out view, but I'm trying to get this to animate and it's still not. So I don't know what the deal is, but it doesn't look so bad on the southwestern side on the infrared. If there's any weakness there at all, it's in the north. It's in the eastern side, but that's probably... Well, it's not really true on the radar because it shows rather strong. The strongest part of the storm, though, right now, in winds, would appear to be the southwest. So it might not be as wet down there in the southwestern quadrant, but it still appears to be the windiest part of the storm.
The strongest, I'm looking at the colour, the red would be the strongest.
Yeah, and again, the radar can't necessarily see all of the southern side, but I think it's a fairly decent read on what we're getting, and you can see the area there that just north of the landfall zone. Gulf Shores is in the eye. Foley there just about getting into the eye. Looking at some other local locations, Point Clear, Robertsdale, Daphne up there as well, just about getting into the reds. The worst conditions from the storm occurring in those locations right now. Pensacola will see the worst probably in the next hour, and then you've got the whole I-10 from Pensacola to Mobile will see the worst conditions along that corridor in the next hour or two.
And Mobile actually came back in onto the radar, didn't it? I thought, wasn't it less of a chance of being impacted, and now
Um,
it's
at which point, certainly been a significant threat for a good 48 hours. Mobile
so
is
the
about
threat.
to get its worst in about 2 to 3 hours at most. But if you've got any comments or questions for us and observations on the ground, if it's safe to do so, please tag us, start your message with Force 13 all in text, and we'll be able to relay them live. Let's see if we did get any more questions earlier. Could this be upgraded to a Category 3 post-season analysis? I don't think so. If it was still showing signs of strengthening right now, I would say yes, but I think the most you could run on this is probably 110, and that would have been earlier, and it's probably down to 100 now. That's just my thoughts. Still Category 2, whichever way you cut it, and landfall remains imminent, very close to land, and it's a bit of a... well, we're enduring it right now because it's happening very slowly.
Now the
Kind of the worst time of night.
yes, the NHC, they didn't do hourly advisories, did they?
Yes, they are.
They are doing.
Yep, the National Hurricane Centre are doing hourly advisories at the moment. They issued their full advisory at the start of this hour when we went to air. And just to repeat that information, if you've just joined us, their headline is that Sally's northern eye wall with hurricane conditions moving across the Gulf Coast from Pensacola Beach, Florida, westward to Dauphin Island, Alabama. Catastrophic and life-threatening flooding likely across portions of the northern Gulf Coast. 105 miles per hour sustained winds. 965 millibars is the central pressure estimate. And just to reiterate those warnings again, storm surge warning now for Fort Morgan, Alabama to the Walton Bay County line, Florida. Hurricane warning for the Mississippi-Alabama border to the Okaloosa-Walton County line in Florida. And tropical storm warning for east of the Okaloosa-Walton County line to Indian Pass. And the Mississippi-Alabama border to the mouth of the Pearl River on the western side. Of course, that storm surge is already underway. And a reminder that there are 2 flash flood emergencies that are out there right now. Flash flood emergency for southeastern Santa Rosa and southwestern Okaloosa counties of the western Florida Panhandle until 11:45 this morning. A very serious situation. And a flash flood emergency for southeastern Baldwin and south central Escambia County. And they say that over 20 inches of rain have already fallen. In just a moment, we'll show you the rainfall accumulations as we look back at the National Hurricane Center cone, and they still expect it will be a hurricane in 12 hours as it moves inland. Any news on the ground, David?
I was just thinking about our young Wyatt. I think he's in the thick of it.
Pretty much.
Yes, so I'll be waiting to hear from him. So there's not much activity on the Twitter platform, although it's the flooding. So how many more hours, Nathan, just recapping, do you think it will remain hurricane or even tropical storm strength?
Oh, well, if you look at the cone there, they're saying that it'll be a tropical storm until it enters Georgia tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's what, 24 hours from now? Or...
Yeah, roughly.
Oh.
I'm just trying to get some rainfall indications on radar and the one I'm looking at only goes up to 10 inches before maxing out. I can certainly guarantee that over 10 inches have fallen in quite a lot of areas. Just trying to get some info on that. I don't have it just yet. I'll keep working on it. I will have it at some point. I'll give you an actual number on how much rain has fallen in the area so far, but I can tell you it's quite a lot. It's a serious flooding situation that's active right now. Again, looking at the velocities there right now, showing you where the strongest winds are. The brightest colors showing the strongest winds, so that's here and here. Those are the strongest winds right now. This area in particular, that's the strongest wind in the storm at the moment. Looks like the southeastern side isn't quite so bad. Extending around to the southern side might even be the weakest part of the storm. Northwestern side also probably delivering significant amounts. That's hurricane force winds most likely. And in those brightest areas, you're looking at category 2 winds. Let's go back to the reflectivity, and again this storm is getting ever closer to landfall. This radar imagery is almost up to the second. Let's take a look at the other variant to show you a higher res look. It is static, but you get a better view at what actually is the situation if it loads for me. Oh well, there's some velocity. There's the reflectivity, so that's the live picture right now from the Mobile radar. And again, it would suggest that the eye is probably around here. So a reminder that flash flood emergencies are active for 2 locations along the Florida-Alabama border, and there are, I think there is still at least 1 tornado warning in effect. Just the one, I believe. I'm just going to go over to the radar now and check up, see if I can find out exactly how much rain has fallen in some of the areas from the radar indications, because it's showing a lot. We're getting significant totals already. Of course, nearly half of the storm has made landfall. But I can tell you it's definitely over 10 inches. I still can't give you a definitive number just yet, which is a bit frustrating, but I can tell you that the hourly rate at the moment is about 1.2 inches per hour in the reddest zones that you're looking at there. All of the reds really denote roughly half an inch per hour or more. The darker reds over 1 inch per hour. And the storm total now, I'm getting some indications finally, suggesting only about 12 inches. I say only, it's still a lot, but 12 inches it's saying on the radar indications. But the National Weather Service in, I think it was Mobile or wherever it was, suggesting that in some of these areas it is actually 20 inches or higher, and they said that it could easily double. But let me give you a few radar indications so far. Mobile, they've had about 3 inches. Pensacola, roughly about 5 inches so far. Not sure how true that is, since Wyatt was on last night and said he'd already had 6 inches. Bruton as well, looks like 2 inches there. Monroeville is just about to get its first ½ inch. Looks like that's just happened. And that will get up to 1 inch in about half an hour probably. Biloxi stayed not particularly wet there, only small amounts over there. So areas west of Biloxi, they've really got away on the rainfall totals at least. Considering this was initially expected to strike Louisiana. Is this the first storm to hit Alabama since Ivan in 2004? That's a good question. I'm not sure anymore. It may well be. I can't think of any others. I'll double check on that for the just for the history perspective. Go ahead.
I was just looking at the Atlanta, Georgia radar and just the rainfall observations and the Troy up to Montgomery and there's a little bit of yellow, so that's about 2.5.
Yeah, I can confirm this is the first landfall in Alabama since Ivan. Ivan, of course, a legendary Category 5 storm that tracked through the Caribbean Sea and made landfall. I think it was a Category 3 for Alabama, or at least a high-end Category 2. So it's almost comparable intensity. This one a little bit weaker. Currently 105 miles per hour according to the National Hurricane Center, and an estimated pressure of 965 millibars.
Nathan, are you able to bring up the Birmingham radar? Does the old program allow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the amount of green to yellow.
What do you mean?
Rainfall 2.5.
So that's the lookout of Birmingham there.
Yep.
You can see the ominous bands of the storm approaching. Were we looking for anything in particular here?
I was just looking at the area in yellow.
Quite expansive along I-65 there.
2.5 inches. And that's on the base, sorry, I think it's the storm loop. Hang on. Yeah, the storm loop.
Sorry, 2.5 inches what? Storm total so far up there?
Well, I'm just looking at the area in the yellow and the green, then dark blue. So the yellow is 2.5 inches. And what is it?
You're looking at something else now, aren't you?
Storm total precipitation.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at just a moment ago, yes. Which suggests that 6 inches have fallen in Pensacola and 12 inches or more in the central point of the storm, which the National Weather Service is suggesting actually might be over 20. Let's see if there's some more questions here. Marlene says, just check the Weather Prediction Center and they stated eye wall at 3 to 4 inches, break for rainfall, Outer Banks 2 inches per hour. That sounds about right. How long until Sally makes landfall? That is the burning question of the hour, because right now it looks like it's just held back just a little bit again. You watch those latest radar frames and it would suggest to me that as we track this storm, that it's done something like that, and it's doing a tiny little loop, and then it's probably going to go back in there in the next hour.
And I see we've got Nelson in the chat. Perhaps he might want to come into the studio. And do we...
Yeah, we're now joined by some of our Asian counterparts. Yep. I hope they're ready for us. Ryan, are you there?
Hi.
Good evening. It is evening there, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over in Singapore. What do you make of this storm right now? Anything new that you can tell us?
So I was actually at some survey station, Pensacola, and airport stations actually. As of 8:52, which is close to an hour ago, apparently the recording winds of 53 knots and gust up to 75 knots. Right now, I don't have pressure.
Was that onshore?
Yes.
Yep, 53 knots onshore, sustained wind. I'm surprised they've not got higher than that, honestly.
I don't have pressure reading right now. Some rainfall readings.
We're struggling a bit with your signal there. It's breaking up. I'm not sure what you just said.
Yeah, I was saying that I was just trying some rainfall readings
Yep.
for some surface station. Not seeing anything. I'll call you up if I any.
Oh, okay. The National Hurricane Center will update at the end of the hour with their hourly updates, as they've been doing since last night, I think. So we'll see what they say at the next hour. I can tell you that the storm isn't at landfall just yet, but about 30% of the eye is onshore. Gulf Shores is in the eye. Foley is about to enter the eye. Pensacola is about to enter the eye wall. Dolphin Island just on the edge of the eye wall there. And again, if you have any observations on the ground, please let us know. Start your message with Force 13 all in text, and it will light up for us on the chat function. But in the meantime, there's not a huge amount to do until this storm makes landfall, apart from continue to watch. It's going to be a big flooding threat. We're watching out for any more tornado warnings, although it's actually just quietened down just for the minute. So no active tornado warnings just yet. But there were 3 or 4 a little bit earlier on. What is the maximum storm surge? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. On their last update, the National Hurricane Center say that they're expecting storm surge of, if it strikes at high tide, 4 to 7 feet from Dauphin Island to Okaloosa-Walton County line, Pensacola Bay and Choctawhatchee Bay, also 4 to 7 feet. Mobile Bay, 2 to 4 feet. The Okaloosa-Walton County line to the Walton Bay County line, that's 2 to 4 feet. Mississippi-Alabama border to Dauphin Island, 2 to 4 feet. Walton Bay County line to Chassahowitzka, Florida, including St. Andrew Bay, that's 1 to 3 feet they're expecting there. So significant surge amounts, and we saw evidence of that last night, yesterday evening on the cameras. And I don't know if you've got any more at this point, David?
No, it's very quiet, but the storm surge over towards Okaloosa area, the 4 to 7 feet. I'm just trying to find with storm surge, the flooding, the rainfall factor over the next couple of days, and I'm going to say if you don't need to travel, stay off the roads.
Alright, let's see if we've got some more discussion here. Nothing just yet, so we're really just taking the whole thing in as we watch the storm draw ever nearer. Inching closer, as the National Hurricane Center described it on multiple occasions yesterday, I think. And it's, in my opinion, moving appallingly slowly. If a storm's going to make landfall, you want it over and done with as soon as really as soon as possible. What's the block on Panama City? That's a offshore there. It's a special marine warning. So the potential for waterspouts over that area, all those blue outlines, the potential for waterspouts and strong winds, of course. Let's just go back to velocity there and see if there are any potential waterspouts that we could be tracking. Not on that radar, clearly. Let's just get a closer one. See if we can see anything else. So as we zoom in there, you can see, yeah, again, the potential for a waterspout or two somewhere along this line, that there in the last frame that's moving on towards that direction. I don't think there'll be anything confirmed on that at this point or anytime soon, but the potential for a waterspout, and that would move ashore along the coast there near Miramar Beach. But I don't think there's anything concrete. I mean, you look further to the east, you can see again some disruptions there too. You're looking for the points where you see those you can almost see the rotations within the hurricane, and those could be tornadoes, not just at this point. The signature's not strong enough, but that was a previously tornado warned storm near Blountstown. So you're looking for all of those colours changing, and again this little area here, that could be a potential rotation that was just briefly flaring up, but that's getting towards speculation really. Well, that's what you watch out for, at least. Looking at the latest wind velocities then, you can see that, well, you look at that, the wind's near the centre, suggesting that, you know, you can see where the edge of the eye is. You get 19 miles per hour just north of Gulf Shores to Alberta, up to 72 miles per hour. That's 115 up there as well at flight level. That's about 4,000 feet up that radar area. 114, 113 the southwestern quadrant, 114-ish as well. So that would suggest, again, we're still looking at 100 to 105 miles per hour from this storm. The most calm areas there are right around here. You know, some areas that aren't detecting any wind at all. It would suggest to me, looking at velocity, that the eye is probably right here. The center of the eye, I should say. Yep, that looks about right. So this is Force 13 Live. We've got the latest on Hurricane Sally, which is about to make landfall, and we'll have the news when it does. Of course, a landfall is mainly a symbolic thing more than anything, because right now the northern eye wall is tearing apart the coast with winds of 100 miles per hour or more. That's already inland at this point. The eye making landfall is just a symbolic thing really, that suggests that, you know, it's not going to intensify anymore. There is still a tiny little gap for intensification, but it's very tiny right now.
No.
Yes.
Sorry, mate. I was just going to ask you, what area would be the strongest?
Oh, god damn it. Yes, the
western?
well, again, the velocity suggesting that southwestern side. Again, let me mark that out. You're looking at these areas, these pinks there. That's the strongest winds in the southwestern side. Looks like the center point's around there. That's probably 105 mile an hour winds. Then you got this other area here, which is northeast of Foley, northwest of Pensacola. That's about 100 miles per hour or nearly on the ground. And then further up towards the, let's just see what we got there. So you're probably getting about 85 mile an hour winds in this area, northeast of Mobile as well. And in Pensacola, wind speed's probably getting up to about 50 to 55 miles an hour. Mobile is probably starting to get tropical storm force winds, if they haven't already. that's what we can ascertain from radar, but of course direct observations on the ground are more accurate, and at this point only people on the ground will be there to supply that information and observation points, weather stations and the like.
How long off? How long before NHC updates?
Well, as I said, they're doing hourly updates, so their next update will be out very shortly indeed, if they've not done it already just now. Sometimes they do it a little bit early, but no, not just yet, so they'll probably do it pretty much right on the hour. So this is cut off slightly, but it shows that storm surge warning, and you can see the area that's got 4 to 7 feet on the forecast, and surf heights as high as 15 to 18 feet across northwest Florida through today.
So 4 to 7 feet. But the NHC, that they're saying the flooding is still major.
Oh, it is.
In the area ahead.
This storm will be known for flooding. There's no question about it. Just to reiterate, there are 2 active flash flood emergencies. Southeastern Santa Rosa and southwestern Okaloosa counties of the western Florida Panhandle. A flash flood emergency there until 11:45 a.m. Flash flood emergency. Particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground immediately. Life-threatening flash flooding. Those locations include Wright, Fort Walton Beach, Eglin Air Force Base, Valparaiso, Gulf Breeze, Marietta, Ocean City, Lake Lorraine, Oriole Beach, Navarre, Shalimar, Cinco Bayou, Navarro Beach, Harper, Holly, Parkerville, Broxton, Windhaven Beach, Pine Bluff, and Ward Basin. Additional rainfall amounts of 10 to 15 inches in that area, and the other flash flood emergency was issued at 1 o'clock this morning for southeastern Baldwin County and south central Escambia County. They're expecting, well, they say that they've already had between 10 and 20 inches of rain, and they said that this could easily double.
Nathan, can we go to the wider picture for the Atlantic for a minute?
Yep.
90% for 98L.
Oh, have they?
98L.
Sorry to interrupt, the update is out. It's still 105 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center have declared landfall. The National Hurricane Center have declared landfall for Hurricane Sally.
Yeah, that's early.
I think that might be a tad early. They say that the center of the eye of Category 2 Hurricane Sally has made landfall near Gulf shores. They've certainly got the location right. Catastrophic and life-threatening flooding likely along portions of the north central Gulf Coast. They said that approximately 4:45 a.m. Central, the center of Hurricane Sally's eye made landfall near Gulf Shores, Alabama as a Category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 105 miles per hour, minimal central pressure of 965. So they have declared landfall. It's hard to tell, but again, it's just, you know, it's not particularly important whether it's made landfall or not, considering that if it hasn't, it's still just about 1 or 2 miles from doing so. So, you know, what's the difference? But the National Hurricane Center there in breaking news has declared landfall near Gulf Shores, Alabama.
And more news. I'm looking at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook. I mentioned on previous streams about the Gulf of Mexico. Percentages, I said 20. It's now 40.
I was just distracted looking at the latest information there for a moment. What was that? You're talking about the area of interest still?
Yeah, 40%.
Oh, the one in the Gulf, yes.
Yeah, it was trending. I said mention it could be a wild card.
Well, the Gulf one there now, yeah, 40%. Well,
40%.
models are developing it. I think it would be higher than 40%, only that the models are suggesting that it's towards the end of the 5-day period, maybe beyond, that it develops. But what did you say? You said 90% on something earlier.
70% for 98L, and to add to the information, we go right up to the, I think it's northeast of the Azores.
Yeah, we know. There is a extratropical low just about emerging onto the image there as day breaks in the eastern Atlantic. Off the Azores there, the very top of your screen, a low pressure system that's got a 20% chance of becoming a tropical cyclone, and that wave off Africa which has 70% chance. If all three of those form, we're at Tropical Storm Beta by Sunday.
Well, you said the weekend, didn't you?
Well, it hasn't happened yet, and we're really hoping not. We don't want to go to Greek letters in September, but, well, it looks like that's going to happen, doesn't it?
Has that happened before?
No. Only reached Greek letters once, David, and that was in 2005.
2005? Well, I think you did mention we could see a repeat in 2005.
I'm not sure I said that, honestly. Our prediction went up to 24 storms in August, and that was our last prediction for the year. But you know, it's gonna be. We're only 6 days past the climatological peak of hurricane season. We've still got 2 months where you could see, you know, we're about 55% of the way through the season in terms of storm totals in a typical season, and we've had 21 cyclones.
Yeah. With
Just
Sally,
ridiculous.
yes, and with Sally having officially made land fall. Your thoughts on Paulette?
Paulette's becoming post-tropical, and that's also going to be a threat to the Azores, possibly as an extratropical cyclone, but it could regenerate into a tropical cyclone.
And Teddy?
Yeah, that's the third Category 2 that's active. We do have 3 Category 2s in a row right now. As we look back at the wide shot again, you can see Teddy there. It's looking pretty good. The eye developing rather interestingly. And it's still moving sort of west-northwest there. It's still not made that turn just yet. And then you've got Vicky off the right-hand side, looking pretty poor, but still got 50-mile-an-hour winds. And if you wanted any more action, well, there is, because there is a Mediterranean tropical cyclone as well. Just if you wanted a little bit more entertainment.
And a bit more entertainment on that.
Hardly.
The possible typhoon forming.
Yes,
South
Tropical
China
Storm Noul as well in the South China Sea could be a typhoon landfall for Vietnam this week. This is what we call peak season. It really is. Because what's that? That's, let's see, that's 7 tropical cyclones active right now, and 3 areas of interest.
Oh, I decided to do it. We've got breaking news. We've got a tornado warning.
Tornado warning.
Florida.
Let's see where this one is. No, stop drawing. Let's see where this one is on the right. Yep, it's another one in the same area as before, near Port St. Joe and Apalachicola. In fact, it is over Apalachicola, that tornado warning. So there's the polygon. Let me get the radar. Was that radar? It might be Tallahassee radar that might be best for this. Let's have a little look. Let's see what they're showing.
The tornado warning for the Franklin and Gulf County in Florida until 6:30 a.m.
Yep, I think that's the same one that we're looking at. Okay, yes, look at this. So that there is a tornado signature. Whether it actually is on the ground or not remains to be seen. We don't know. It's a radar indicated. So this area here, that is the source of this tornado warning. It's just past Apalachicola, and that looks to be headed probably north.
Nathan, could we relate that to Sally?
It is part of Sally, yes. It's the outer bands.
The outer bands.
So that's the latest there, tornado warning, which is active right now. So if you're just catching up in another breathless day in the Atlantic tropics, Sally has just made landfall officially, according to the National Hurricane Center, with winds of 105 miles per hour and a pressure of 965 millibars, and it has made landfall pretty much at Gulf shores. Let's try and get one of these radars back again.
Nathan, did you expect it to get that low with the central pressure?
Some models were expecting it, even when it initially weakened. We always hope for the best, don't we? Still, looking at radar, it still suggests that the center is just off the shore, but very close. It may as well be on land. National Hurricane Center thinks so. So there we have it. And after a storm makes landfall, we become increasingly redundant. Our job is mainly the forecasting of tropical cyclones and getting out the latest information, but we've got a major situation quite clearly. Huge amounts of rainfall in the whole area around Pensacola and Mobile and points in between, in particular along I-10. And again, we're looking at potentially 35 inches of rainfall.
35.
Indeed. So the landfall occurred at 1:45, 5 in the morning, local time, central time, and there's still tornado possibilities as well as that flooding. The storm surge threat is now at its peak, and it will start to decrease from here on in. The rainfall threat is still increasing. The flooding threat is still increasing for the next few hours yet. Let's really hope that this storm doesn't stall when it moves, when it's over land. That would be pretty bad.
Yes.
So that's the latest information that Sally has made landfall. We're going to be finishing up here now because that is our main bulk of the stream done and coverage done on this storm. Obviously, we're not leaving it. We're not just going to throw it away. We will be doing more regular updates on the storm as the morning progresses, probably more live events as well. But for the time being, Sally has made landfall and is now moving inland. The worst part of the storm is currently underway, and we dearly hope that everyone stays safe throughout this whole event, David.
Yes, the wind factor, the flooding, but people need to continue monitoring. I've got no doubt that the NOAA radio will be very active, the National Weather Service, but another system, but we've still got the others on the radar, and I've enjoyed being part of the team, bringing the information.
And just to point out, we are still doing automated streams. There is a live stream, our 24/7 stream on our main channel. And on the Force 13 US channel, there is live satellite imagery feed of Sally. I don't know when we'll be live again, probably later today during daylight hours as this storm progresses. It will remain a hurricane for a while yet. It will deliver huge amounts of rain into Georgia and beyond. But from us right now, stay safe out there. It's a very dangerous storm. The first hurricane landfall since Ivan, and only about 1 level below its impacts, I should imagine. It's going to be a rough night and a rough morning. But stay alert and stay safe out there. Good night.